11 weeks out from the Texas Pro. We are in the closet. You can leave all your funny "when are you coming out of the closet" jokes down in the comments if you like. But why I'm in here is because it's morning and we're doing my check-ins. So this is the day to do that, see what my progress has been over the past week of prep. And then we'll head over to my office and break that all down. And then later today, I'm going to Anytime Fitness for training session, doing pull the day, kind of break down for you how you would do this when you don't have a lot of equipment variety, and what I do when I'm training closer to home at this gym. So let's do some posing pics and we'll head over to the office and break it down. Right in the office doing the check-in today, and you'll see behind me I pull up my pics on my Mac and open two separate windows. So if you're doing your own check-ins, this is something you can do. I keep my pics in like drive folders week by week. So I can pull up two windows, have them big on the screen, and just go shot by shot and compare. So last week what I did to kick off this diet, because we haven't talked about this yet, is I was at 700 grams of carbs and 65 grams of fat, 320 grams of protein on training days. So I pulled 100 grams of carbs off. And then on my non-train days, a little bit of fat and a little less carbs in my train day. But overall, it was about a 400 calorie reduction. And the other thing that added in last week, I kept my steps at 10,000 steps, but I brought in posing 5 days a week. So in the mornings, I'll pose for 15 minutes, and that's 3 rounds of posing. So I go through every pose, holding them for about 8-10 seconds, take a 1 minute break, and then repeat that. And I'll go through those rounds, which posing is considered around moderate cardio. Like if you watch your heart rate, it would go up to like moderate levels if you're putting in good effort, which I'd rather do that than do cardio. So at least for now, like posing is more specific to our goal in bodybuilding and also creates some of the deficit. So anyway, that's in place. It's a non-negotiable for me. Pose every morning, 5 days a week. I don't do it on leg day. I don't do it on the day after legs, as I do want some recovery there. So I pulled the food down, posing went in over this past week. I was starting around 263, 264, and I've just tapered down to yesterday. I actually was 259.8. Today I was a little heavier. I was 261. So again, a little fluctuations there, but overall trending down. And off the visuals, they're much sharper, like drastically. Waist control is the immediate thing I'll notice right away. So looking off these, also to mention about the PEDs, right? That last week went up to peak dosage. So across this week, training's been great. Recovery's really good, and getting leaner. So I'm checking all the boxes that I want here. And I'm going to not make any changes going into next week because this is moving along very, very good. To my own issues from the past is I've been too aggressive actually in the front of prep and dieted way too fast. But I maintained tissue, but I want to go a little slower this time. And so I did bigger pulls last time, like 150 grams of carbs and increasing steps. So I've already pulled down about 3.5 pounds this past week. So don't need to go any faster at all. So I do anticipate it slowing down a bit next week, just because that initial pull is like food volume and shift some water. So we'll see if it slows down. But again, I watch this stuff daily. So those are in the initial changes. That's where I'm at on this check-in. Shortly here, we're going to head over to the gym. I do need to run the Bronco over to get some work done on it. So doing a bit of run around. That's why I'm going to train at Anytime today. But we'll see you in the gym. Right, we're at Anytime Fitness today because I took the Bronco earlier today over to the shop that I usually have work done at. My Mustang's there, now my Bronco's there too. Just having a few little things worked out. My AC was disengaging a bit and kind of have a rattling noise that I cannot figure out what it is, so I'm going to check it out. But anyway, drove way across town, so Anytime Fitness is right by my house. It's really convenient to get to. So we're going to do a pull session here and discuss having a more limited setup, which this is, but man, I could get a great back workout in here, and I can avoid driving on the highway and having sometimes 2 hours of driving time total going to my normal gym, the muscle factory. So let's jump into the session. All right, first exercise starting with a vertical lat pull. So I do here, there's a pull down machine, but it's pretty easy to max out. Also, single arm is not the best alignment on it, so I just pull an incline bench into the cable crossover and set that up, and I actually really like it. For one, you want to center the bench with your cable, and then what you'll notice that I'm doing is I'm sitting slightly offset from the middle of the bench so I can keep that cable lined up with my hip, and that will let me keep my elbow really tight to my torso and not let that elbow track out. So can put a lot of priority to the lat here. I put a 45-pound plate between the bench and the cable stack, keep it from scooting forward. And basically with this movement, you want to set it up to where you can get that upper arm in line with the torso and then bend your elbow as much as possible. Then all you do is just extend your arm forward, and that'll be the position you should be in. So if you find that at the bottom of the movement, you're doing kind of this weird tricep push down, and you see like your shoulders rotating up, that's usually meaning that your bench is too low or your cable's too high. So adjust your bench up or drop your cable down. Of course, if your bench is too high, it might turn into like kind of this weird row looking thing. So 3 sets here on this lat biased cable pull down. Also on this single arm cable pull down, someone mentioned that, wow, this one's really hard to progress. And remember, the goal in the session is to accurately apply the stimulus. The outcome of doing that goal in the session should be over time you're able to use more load and reps. So don't think that your goal within the session is you must do more load and reps, as that should be kind of organically happening. Just train really hard to failure, and in time you'll notice, even if you have a weight stack that, like, you know, you move from a 60 to a 70, it's like a huge increase, that even though that's not moving every time, those same reps might be getting easier, and you might be able to get, like 6.5 reps or 6 3/4 reps, and it keeps moving up. So think in a percentage, like every session you might be able to do 1 or 2% more. So if you have a 100-pound weight that you're using, just 1 or 2 pounds might be all you can incrementally increase. So to go down to like the 110-pound, it might take you 4 or 5 weeks to do that. So you might not translate to actual seeing weight move, but the stimulus and adaptation should happen. So you should see this trend up over time. Now, it really depends on the weight stack. I have a 200-pound weight stack on this one, and the way the pulleys are set up, I can do the whole stack. And so I could do a 50-pound increase on this, and it's not that big of a progression compared to some other weight stacks. So don't focus on that, since it's not a movement you might be able to progress quickly, like a bicep curl or lateral or this movement. That makes it a bad exercise. What makes a good one is that you're able to accurately apply that stimulus. All right, next movement I'm gonna do is a chest supported T-bar row. So this will be my upper back bias movement. Just doing 3 sets here, pretty straightforward. You notice like I'm not allowing my thoracic spine to just like round over onto the pad, because what happens is, like, what are we really trying to train in this is the traps, the teres major, some lat, and to go into spinal flexion and then extension. A lot of that movement's happening just through the spinal extensors, which they're going to get trained either way, but the primary focus of this movement is to brace the spine and just basically move the arms and scapulus. That's all we're looking to do. So you'll see I'll keep a locked in neutral spine the whole time. And on the end of every set, I do kelso shrugs. So the traps aren't fully fatigued, so I'll do some extra just trap retractions to fully take that muscle group to failure. So if your traps suck, do that at the end of every row. Someone else had asked me about, they go to different gyms, and how do you progress lifts then and log? So I have noted in my phone, like today's date, push or pull, Anytime Fitness or Muscle Factory. So I know if I revisit this gym, my settings, I write down like for my pulley heights, my bench heights, the machines I used. And so when I come back to this gym, I'll know what lifts I did and my loads and reps to see if I've moved up. I haven't been in this gym in like 7 months. So I looked way back 7 months. I had my numbers to look at, and I had moved up on all of them. So even if you're going to like, gosh, if you're going to 3 different gyms, have those rotations, and then every 3 weeks you can compare back, and easy enough to do it that way. Or if you travel for work and are all over the world, you could at least have some movements that you could do anywhere, like a dumbbell bench press you could do anywhere, and you could always compare across. So just some ideas on logging and be able to using that data to assess how your training's going. Okay, third exercise will be a landmined row. Do the single arm and put my lead arm with the same lead leg next to the bar. So I'm not sitting like with the lead leg back with that staggered stance. For one, you're just a lot more stable in this position. I've done the staggered stance, and I mean, as a secondary, it can really challenge your lateral stability, which could be fine if you want that. But it does also getting that lead hip back a little bit. Maybe put a more length on the lat, but we already did our overhead row pull down. So this one's really just to hit the lat more in that horizontal plane and in a stable position. So I don't have a great lat row option here. I could do a cable, but I really like this landmine row because it's heavy on the bottom. Then as you row, you start to stand that barbell more upright, somewhat, and the load drops off, which is kind of what you want to match that resistance and strength profile together. Good tip on this one is like when you grab the handle, pull it back towards you the whole time. It can really help you with engaging the lat. So 3 sets here, just going back to back, and even like 1 minute rest between each arm. Been a little distracted because, guys, I found a Striker Orange Viper ACR that I want. Meets all the criteria. I'm having a mechanic inspect it right now. It's in California, so we'll see how that turns up. So I've been like going back and forth with him as I'm training, but I do have a Viper in my mind, so maybe by next week you'll know if I pulled the trigger or not. All right, last compound movement will be my upper back cable shrug row, whatever you want to call it. Just the idea with this one could be subbing out my I do at the other gym a Life Fitness upper back row, or even the hammer strength isolateral low row would also be the idea of it. It's more of like doing a row that where the elbows are driving up and back, and you're seeing that scapula elevate and retract. So getting more into even a higher upper back work than what we did with our T-bar row. So T-bar row is kind of more mid upper back-ish, mid trap-ish, ish. Then our upper back row, getting more into the vertical fibers. So I'll still finish this one and do Kelso shrugs at the end, or it's actually more just a regular shrug. I like this grip wider than shoulder width. Having like a 30-degree angle out from the torso with the arm lines it up a little bit better for using the traps. You could do this also with like a dual cable stack and standing out from it a little bit with the arms out 30 degrees from the body, grabbing each handle and doing this kind of row shrug as well. So a few different options for whatever your gym setup is. 3 sets here. Okay, final exercise. It's a single arm rear delt fly. We do have a pec deck machine, which it's good here. However, I do really like a cable fly, reverse cable fly. For one, it offers a lot of flexibility to how your setup could be. So with this one, I put it slightly higher than shoulder height, and I move at a downward angle. And for one, I want that cable to run directly through the shoulder joint, so it lines up with all the joints. But also, if you look at your rear delt fiber, it's kind of in the same path as the front delt, which is at this angle, like bringing the arm across the body or bringing the arm down. You could go out perpendicular, totally fine, but you will notice you can get a bit more range of motion when that arm is just below parallel to the ground. So I move at a slight downward angle. Also have the cable set up when I start the lift at 90 degrees with the forearm, so you get the hardest load, heaviest load when the rear delt is lengthened, which again, matching strength profiles to resistance profiles really well. And just do 3 sets here. All right, session done. In the car, ready for my nice drive home, which is just in the country. So it's such a nice drive that I do not have to get on the highway or sit in traffic. I take these like little country back roads, and it's just so nice post-workout. And then I can drive home and just eat my meal at home, which normally I'm having to like eat in the car and sit in traffic, and it's not ideal. So this rep session is a solid session. You know, holding gym performance on prep is a secondary priority. The first being fat loss and being on time. And at times that secondary goal of gym performance kind of has to take a back seat. But it's when the first goal is when you don't have that set up correctly. And that is, if you have a right rate of fat loss and timeline for your prep, you should be able to uphold the secondary goal of holding muscle, in which indirectly gym performance is what we're looking at here. So people say, should you see performance drop off on prep? If it's set up right with a good timeline, managing fatigue, and especially for an enhanced lifter, you should not see performance drop off. Now, if you get behind, you got to push fat loss hard. You got to be shredded on stage. Gym performance might take a slight backseat and a drop off, but realize it's because your prep kind of went wrong to a degree. I don't want someone to like get after their coach like, hey, John says you're making my prep go wrong. That's not the case at all. And also consider like certain lifts are gonna drop, but that doesn't mean your overall performance is dropping. For instance, I mean, if you lose 40 pounds on prep, your ability to brace is going to be much lower. So for lifts that require a lot of bracing, like a back squat or a dumbbell bench press, or certain rows, those are going to drop because you just don't have the ability to stabilize the pattern anymore. But that's when you should be moving to more stabilized patterns so you can uphold that quality of stimulus to the muscle and not have to put as much demand on that internal bracing component. Now what you'll see is like usually your isolation lifts will still be holding. You might have like one lift drop off, and that's not what I'm talking about here. So, but that's just me rambling on training performance, and like I'm a training performance Nazi on prep. Like it's a big priority on top of also keeping fat loss rate on track, because we don't want to just be lean on stage. We also want to have muscle on stage too. So both are requirements in bodybuilding. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in. I will talk to you next week.